This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Jay Kelly, the new film from Academy Award nominee Noah Baumbach. George Clooney stars as an actor confronting his past and present on a journey of self-discovery, alongside Adam Sandler as his devoted manager. Critics are calling it a declaration of love to the chaotic art of filmmaking, with the Wall Street Journal praising it as a transcendent comedy drama. Jay Kelly is now playing only on Netflix.
Introducing Meta Ray-Ban Display, the world's most advanced AI glasses. With a full color display built into the lens of the glasses, it's there when you need it and gone when you don't. Send and receive messages, translate or caption live conversations, collaborate with Meta AI, and more. Be one of the first to try Meta Ray-Ban Display. Visit meta.com/Meta Ray-Ban Display to book a demo and find your pair.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
Welcome to the 1905 podcast, home of the world champions, Chelsea. Each week, Joe and I bring you our unfiltered takes on the highs, the lows, and everything in between, following the Blues from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. Chelsea 2, Everton 0. We can win without Moises Caicedo. Who knew? So yeah, that's good. I'm relieved. I don't know about everyone else. I'm just relieved that we'd never, at half time, I thought 2-0. Can we get a third goal here and just make it feel like a nice, enjoyable, relaxing game? But so rarely is that the case in the Premier League, I guess, but particularly at Chelsea at the moment. But a really important 3 points, goes without saying, after the run that we've been on for the last couple of weeks. And I think overall, when I look back, I enjoyed that. Actually, you do once you've won it. During it, I was really nervous, and when that Njai chance hit the post with about 5 minutes to go, I guess it was, I was thinking, oh no, here we go. And as it was rolling towards the post, I thought, this is going in. It's going to be absolute Alamo for the last few minutes. But we rode our luck that time. And yeah, overall, very, very worthy winners. I think if, in all honesty, when you look back at the game, it could easily have been a 4 or 5. Chelsea had, I think Garnacho himself had, I'd say, 2 to 3 very good chances. You had the one in the first half where he does really well to read the back pass and has to score into the empty net. Defender did well coming across, but he's got to score that one. And then he has another one where he either has to score or he has to pull it across for João Pedro. And that wasn't his only chance. He had one other as well. But overall, I thought a really decent display from Chelsea there. A proper good home win. 2-0 at home to a team at Everton who are on great form themselves. Makes it over 31 years now, isn't it, since Everton won at Stamford Bridge. Just an incredible, incredible run. And yeah, I want to call out, I think, a few performances. So team selection wasn't massively surprising. We called for a return to close to our best team as we could put out right now, and I think it was. I think the only disappointment most Chelsea fans would have had was probably that Estevao didn't start, but the way that Neto and Garnacho played probably justified that call. Both were a constant threat. It was weird actually how little time Estevao got on the pitch, wasn't it? You almost were thinking, is he not going to give him any minutes again? But he got that 15 minutes at the end and did okay. Looked probably a little bit off the pace, if anything. The big one for me was Cole Palmer. Just a few little signs of him returning to the Cole that we know and love. Just great seeing him get on the ball all over the pitch, spreading the play, and obviously the goal. Brilliant from Gusto, who I'll definitely come on to talk about, but brilliant ball. And it was, he's cold Palmer for a reason, and it was a brilliant finish. Just gave Pickford the eyes, went near post, and and that settled us down. It kind of came out of nothing at that point, didn't it? Because Chelsea, I don't think, again, had started brilliantly. It was a bit of a nothing game up to them, and it took that to set us down, and it really did. And really from that point was until most of the rest of the first half, we were really on top. Palmer, yeah, looked good. Interesting how early he got brought off. I think it was 55 minutes. So clearly wanting to really protect him and ease him back in. And I wonder if he'll even be involved in midweek at Cardiff. I certainly don't think he'll start, but I wonder if he'll be on the bench. But yeah, clearly they're managing his minutes, but great to have him back and scoring at Stamford Bridge. If we can get him back to his best, I mean, bear in mind, Chelsea have done what we've done this season and ultimately has been pretty good apart from the last couple of weeks. And we've done that without Cole Palmer. Having him back at his best is just going to be, huge for us. And the second goal is the man who I thought arguably had one of his best ever games in a Chelsea shirt. It was a great pass in the first half for Palmer. And he turns up and scores again. Like London buses, you wait an hour for a bus and two come along at once. And Malo Gusto. And to be fair, it was again really good play. It was a good finish for him. And Pedro Neto did really well picking him out. Gusto had started the move, and nice finish and just the tonic really, wasn't it, before half time for Chelsea. And I just thought he was excellent, Gusto, throughout all facets of his play really. Defensively against Grealish, I thought he generally did pretty well overall. Grealish got a couple of half chances that he'd probably be disappointed with, but generally Gusto did very well against, as we know, one of the most dangerous left wingers in the Prem. And his passing was brilliant today, wasn't it? There wasn't just that one. He played a great ball in the second half through to João Pedro, which is eye of a needle. And just generally, when you look at him like that, he can look like a really, really classy footballer. So we've been saying a bit, Gusto, this year that Joe and I both said that we think he's really back to his best Chelsea form that we saw in his first season, having last year really dipped. And that again today, I thought he was excellent, really, really good. And the guy on his left shoulder, I guess it would be, Wesley Fofana, is another I have to call out because he was superb today. Yeah. You look at him and again, you think, if we can keep him fit, all of these woes and worries that we have at centre half, they would be eased significantly, wouldn't they, with a fully fit Wesley Fofana. If you get Colwell back with Fofana and Trev, and obviously Josh coming through, you kind of look at those four and think, we might be all right. We might be all right. It's just having them all fit, isn't it? But he was brilliant. The way, Joe is much better on talking at that centre-backs than me, but just the way he was so on the front foot, aggressive in the challenge, driving forward with the ball as well. And him and Chalobah just feel like they've got a really good partnership going. We talked about their record a little bit and just how many clean sheets that they're getting together, but it just feels like there is a real, an understanding of playing together that's great to see. And shout for Trev as well, because he made an incredible block right towards the end of the game, which really, you could see him absolutely going mad, fist pumping. It was again another key moment, which just shows Everton were in the game right to the end. Other than that, do I want to call out anything else? I think I will talk about João Pedro briefly, because I think he's frustrating Joe a little bit, and I think he's frustrating a few Chelsea fans. I do like him. I like João Pedro. I think he has moments where you can see he's got real quality. He's got a great touch. He can be aggressive at times. I think he was doing actually pretty well, giving those Everton big centre backs a bit of a tussle for all of these long balls that were coming up to him from Sanchez at times. I do like him. It's just that last bit, isn't it? Like I said in the previously, which was you just want your striker to be having more shots and getting into more dangerous positions. And that's the only bit that I think is missing with me for him. And he had one shot all game, and that was just that one, which you could argue, you might say was even a cross, which he dragged across goal with about 10 minutes to go. But ultimately, I thought he was doing all right, and we really need him to keep finding that form and be a big player. And I think him with Palmer back, I think does make a difference. And I do think that we might see quite a different João Pedro with Palmer behind him over time. So certainly I've been critical of him recently, but I don't think we've seen the best of him yet, and I think there is a lot more to come from him. And again, it's easy to forget how young he is. He's only 24 himself, so yeah, still progressing. There is definitely a player there in my mind, definitely a player. But I think I'll wrap it there and hand over to Joe. Really pleased, really important win. It's nice to get that sort of Saturday 3:00 win, isn't it? Back at the Bridge. Atmosphere wasn't amazing today, it's fair to say. There was almost like hangovers after Christmas parties and not quite the buzz that we'd had recently against Arsenal and Barca. But I think ultimately it's just important to get 3 points and move on. And actually the first 3:00 Saturday game that we've won this season at Stamford Bridge, having lost 2 and drawn 1 of the last 3. So yeah, nice to get that monkey off our backs as well. But that feels good. The relief is pouring out of me, and I'll hand over to Joe.
Good morning. Thanks for the note, Chris. Really well put together. And I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it makes your weekend so much better. And your week, quite frankly, for the record. So, yeah, it was a strange old game. I mean, I think the start was quite dull. I won't lie. It was strange. It was a bit weird. There was no real chanting. There was no real singing from the crowd. I think you have to sort of put that down to 4 really poor results. Well, certainly 3. The Arsenal game, not a poor result, but you didn't win. So you took that real high of Barcelona and you've taken it through 4 matches now and not had a single victory there. So it was a bit alarming. I think the fans were probably very jubilant after Barcelona, and I think had we had a victory or 2 since then, it would have felt a lot better. But unfortunately, we didn't provide that. So I think Maresca's post-match comments about it being a really weird 48 hours and he doesn't feel like he's got support, but he wouldn't say who from. The club have come out and basically said that they support him. So who he's referring to, God only knows. If it's the media, if it's... Well, he then said, "Oh no, the fans are fantastic. The supporters are fantastic. We love them." So who he's aiming it at, I'm not too sure. But I think it's a bit of a rookie thing to say. You've had 4 results where you've played pretty abysmally in 3 of them, and that those were your last 3 matches. You have to come under some kind of scrutiny when you've spent £1 billion on your squad. Now, don't get me wrong. Us as Chelsea fans realise that that's invested money. That's looking at players for the future in the main. So we're very aware of that, and it's not like a ready-built squad ready to go right now. We'd like it to be, but it's not. But at the same time, you have to sort of take some responsibility for the way you've set your teams up. And there does seem to be a fairly open dialogue between Maresca and the board for the fact that he's rotating the squad quite a lot, and they don't seem too bothered by it. But as we've seen, particularly with the 2 centre-backs, consistency is key. And yet another clean sheet for Trev and Fofana. You kind of go, well, this isn't rocket science, mate. It's just playing your best players in the best positions together regularly enough. You will find that they suddenly start to become a partnership. And chopping and changing the players out every 5 minutes just doesn't help. And we're not going to go into that today because we've said our piece on that. But the reality remains the same. You are a football manager of an elite football club who is used to winning trophies. If you're not prepared to take criticism when you haven't won in 4 matches in a row, then you're not in the right job. That's what kind of frustrates me with him. You have to understand, if Chelsea draw or lose 4 matches back to back, that is going to create some kind of a story. Now, no one's suggesting for any moment that Maresca should walk or be sacked because of that reason. We're just saying, and not just us, everybody who's a Chelsea fan is saying, you need to stop with the tinkering. Like, it's obvious what is happening. You're moving your team around far too often, and you're getting poor results because of it. Now, rotating players because of an injury or something, like Palmer at the moment. He's playing around the 60-minute mark and he's coming off. Fine. Everyone understands that. When Reece James had his problems and he played in 1 week and then he wouldn't play for 2 games, then he'd play again and suddenly built his minutes up, completely understand. It's players that are basically just being taken in and out of the side willy-nilly because you want to keep the whole squad happy. And like I said last week, that isn't going to be the case. Those players have to force their way into the team. And when they get 10 minutes at the end of a game or maybe in training or something, or with Cardiff coming up in the League Cup, they're their moments to shine. And if we play Cardiff and he plays a fairly rotated team who haven't had a lot of minutes this season and they come out and they show no effort and no desire, you know what you've got. And you just say to them, you had your chance. Like, I didn't expect you to be man of the match today, but I expect you to give 100% effort. And I find when we play in these League Cup matches particularly, you find the level drops quite a bit. And that shouldn't be the case. If you're not playing regularly, you need to come into that side and basically stake your claim. That's what those matches are for. So I've got no sympathy for Maresca when it comes to like, oh, we've had no love for the last 48 hours. It's like, boo-hoo. You're all earning £100,000+ a week. I'm sorry, no one's crying for you over here. Your job as a professional, whether it's playing or managing or being part of a coaching staff, scouting team, whatever it is at Chelsea or any other Premier League team, is to get results. Stay in the Premier League. If that's your target, great. If your target is to win a cup this year, let's try and win a cup, win the league, top 4. But you have to stick to your targets and you have to provide some kind of spectacle for the supporters that come week in, week out to support the team, and not just be like, oh, do you know what? It's only Burnley. I'm going to rotate the team completely today, and they go and get beat 1-0 or something. Now, that's not acceptable. Whichever player comes in, you've been watching the team all week. You've been coaching the team all week. If you put a side out with too many changes or too many inexperienced players in that side, then that is on you as the head coach of Chelsea Football Club. But all that aside, if we do want to talk about the game briefly from my perspective, they did play well yesterday. There were moments in the first 20 minutes where I thought to myself, oh, goodness me, this game is going nowhere fast. And I was a little bit concerned. You start questioning things and you're going, well, they need something to happen here because we hadn't had any chances. Everton hadn't really had any chances. The game was very flat for a while. And then the goal came. And it was a beautiful goal. And Chris has rightly gone through that already with Gusto popping up into midfield again, slotting a lovely pass through to Cole Palmer. And he finished it in the only way that he knows how to do, which is a beautiful side foot shot, gave Jordan Pickford the eyes and slotted it in at the near post. And then from that moment onwards, Chelsea had quite a lot of chances. And Chris has gone through some of those, Garnacho missing a fair few. And yeah, there was just, I felt like we were playing pretty decently, actually. And you kind of felt like we should be winning this game by 2 or 3. Obviously, Garnacho missing that chance. I mean, where we intercept the ball and he goes around the goalkeeper and he was put under pressure by Tarkowski. It was he still should have scored, Garnacho, but fair play to the defender for not giving up. And I think that's a sort of a lesson to any young player that just by being there and putting pressure on Garnacho made him miss the chance. But we should have been at least 2-0 up at that point. But then, as with football, Everton grew into the game. And even though I didn't think Everton were fantastic, they still created a couple of half chances. And there was the one where they slotted the ball right across the face of goal. It goes past everybody. Gusto decided just to not bother defending it. And I think it might have been Barry on the back post. It just goes straight through his legs. And you think he's got literally a tap-in on the goal line. So there were opportunities and there were 1 or 2 half chances for Everton to get back into the game. But Chelsea did ride that wave and that storm a little bit. And we created more chances for ourselves. But it was quite a passive game, I would say, overall. It wasn't something that I thought to myself, this is a classic, but we were still creating chances. I will briefly mention what Chris touched on there about João Pedro. He's a player that hasn't really resonated with me for a while, and not because he's not scoring goals overly a lot at the moment, but just something about his play is making my skin itch a little bit when I see him. He's Well, Chris, you said he's very good at holding the ball up and stuff. There was a few occasions yesterday where the ball was coming into him on the halfway line and it bounced off him like 5 or 6 yards. He lost possession. And you're kind of going, where's that João Pedro that we had in the summer, and the start of the season? Where's that player gone? Now, I'm willing to be fair and say something like, maybe he's been a little bit overplayed. Perhaps when he was at Brighton last year, he came to us in the Club World Cup, a bit of a whirlwind transfer, thrust straight into a tournament and maybe had a point to prove because Nicholas Jackson was still there and, he was fighting for his place a little bit and, he hit the ground running. There's no question about it. He was outstanding. And after the Club World Cup, in pre-season and the few games after that, he looked really, really good, but his performance levels have dropped off enormously. And it is really concerning. Bear in mind, Delap's not playing. Palmer's only about 60%. So he is our only real recognised striker. You could argue that Pedro Neto could do a job up front. And I'm actually surprised we haven't seen that a little bit. Maybe not just from the start of a game, but perhaps midway through at half time, we change our tactics and give Neto a run up front just to switch it up and just to say to the opposition, we're not a one-trick pony, because I find João Pedro is quite easy to mark when he plays as a 9. He doesn't really offer much. I much prefer him in the 10 role, I have to say. He looks a much better player there. But if you're going to do that job, and he said to the press, basically, I love being a 9. He said, I prefer being a 9. So you kind of go, well, why don't you act like it then? Because you're not playing well enough to play like a 9, unfortunately. His touch has been poor, the ball's bouncing off him, his passes are being overhit, underhit, and sometimes, just on occasions, the service hasn't been great to him. But I do sometimes struggle to watch him play in that role because I just think you offer us nothing. And if anything, you slow the game down really, to a point where Chelsea look a little bit pedestrian. That's why I would like to see Neto on occasions, particularly while Delap's not playing, just to maybe come into that role like he did against Barcelona. And I know why he played against Barcelona, Neto, was because they play a really high line and they wanted Chelsea to exploit that. But João Pedro, I know he's a good player, but his performance levels have been just nowhere near good enough. And a bit like Enzo Maresca, I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for you. You're a 24-year-old striker playing for one of the best teams in the world football. And I just feel like sometimes he plays with a sulk and a strop about him. And we had this with Jackson a little bit. And I just don't want to go through another striker who only scores like 8 goals a season. I mean, I think they said that Chelsea's top goal scorer currently this season is, and I forget the player, it might be Neto, but it's 5 goals. You're going, we spent all this money on this talent, this young squad, and the best we can come up with in the middle of December, getting towards the end of December, is 5 goals as the top goal scorer. Like, why do we keep having these situations where we can never find someone to hit the back of the net on a regular basis? It is infuriating. We can talk about Neto and João Pedro and Cole Palmer and all this and say what great players they are. And in fairness to Palmer, before his injury, obviously he did go on a huge goal-scoring run. But I still don't look at Cole Palmer as a striker. I'm talking about out-and-out number 9s. Someone that you can trust, that every other week he's going to score 1 or 2 goals. Just someone where they create something out of nothing and you go, oh, thank God he's in the team today. We don't seem to have had that for a long, long time. And the obvious candidates are Costa and Drogba. And, that is going back quite a long time now where you kind of go, this isn't really acceptable anymore. We keep buying developmental strikers. And Chris rightly said last week that there were many teams that wanted his signature and Chelsea got in there very, very fast. And I do have high hope for Liam Delap. I really do. But you see his form for Ipswich, that sort of freedom that Delap played with. He's come to Chelsea and it does seem to have been a little bit stifled. And why is that? Why do we constantly have players that look so brilliant in their former teams come to Chelsea and suddenly play like they've almost never played football before? Delap's form, when you see the videos from his Ipswich days last year to Chelsea's performances this year have been nothing short of mind-blowingly different. I mean, like, massively different. And I just want to kind of know why that is the case. It just seems very bizarre. Are we asking them to do things they're not used to doing? And surely the appeal of buying a player from a team that you've really enjoyed, watching, or in Delap's case, he tore us to pieces in both games. You kind of go, just play like that. Just do what you're used to doing, and you will cause us all sorts of problems. But we seem to want to change too many things in their game. They start thinking about other stuff, and before you know it, they forget how to score goals. And this seems to happen all the time when it comes to Chelsea strikers. And it just makes me think about João Pedro. Have we started to change him? Because when he came in, he had a shot and scored that wonderful goal in the Club World Cup in the top right-hand corner. And then he goes down the other end and he does that little dink over the goalkeeper against PSG. And you go, that's instinctive stuff. So where's that gone? Because I can't even remember a time where João Pedro's even had a shot from outside the box since then. And I just get concerned that we are doing too many things and trying to change these players' core traits. And that was surely the reason why we bought them in the first place. I just don't want these players like João Pedro turning up to Chelsea, scoring a couple of goals at the start of his career and thinking that he's made it. Because, no, this should be just be the beginning. And a lot of the time you see these sort of players, they wander around, they waft their arms in the air and they sort of shrug their shoulders and the pass doesn't quite come to them and they don't run for it anymore. And you go, well, no. You still need to play like this is street football in Brazil. Or in Delap's case, bullying people down the park playing headers and volleys. In other news, disappointed not to see Esteval for a bit longer again yesterday. I was hoping to see him and Palmer play some kind of role together after half-time, but that didn't materialise. But Chris is also absolutely right. Fofana was magic yesterday. He was everywhere. He was a real handful for the centre-forwards. And, pleased to see him play so well. And fingers crossed he has finally got over his injury concerns. You always want to touch wood when it comes to him, but, when he's this good, you can see the £70 million why Chelsea played, what Chelsea paid for him. It makes a huge difference to the side when you have a presence like him in the side, because he's very physical and he actually doesn't make too many boneheaded decisions. Last year, I felt as though he was still at times making rash challenges or going to ground too easily, trying to win slide tackles. And I think as a central defender, you do have to stay on your feet a lot more. And that did concern me. But this year when he's played, I haven't noticed that quite as much, which has been really, really good. Fair play to Gusto, a fantastic pass for Cole Palmer's goal, and obviously he got his second goal. And like Chris said, you wait all that time for one, and then suddenly two come up at once. So, I mean, he's only 3 goals behind the top goal scorer for Chelsea at the moment. So, who's to say we haven't found our number 9, and he was playing at right back all along. And as for Chelsea's upcoming games, it's going to go one way or the other for Maresca, I think. Newcastle, okay, we've got Cardiff in the Cup, but then Newcastle in the Premier League, followed by Aston Villa. Now, our record at St James's Park is woeful. It really is poor. Much like Everton's record against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and obviously Tottenham's record against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, our record there is not wonderful. And then you're following that up with a home game against Aston Villa, who at the moment can't stop winning and they can't stop scoring goals, that's for sure. So this is going to be a huge couple of games in the Premier League. If somehow Chelsea, and it's a massive if, because the way they played away from home in the last couple of games have been not great. But you kind of go, if they were to get a stinky, horrible, disgusting performance, but come out with 3 points against Newcastle, that is a massive result. And then it does take a little bit of pressure off at home to Aston Villa. They will come with a game plan, Villa. They always do under Unai Emery. But I think Chelsea would play with a lot more confidence. And at home, you always fancy yourself at home against anybody. So it's a huge couple of weeks for Chelsea. And if they were to somehow pull 6 points up the bag against these two sides, it would really go some way to giving the team a lot of confidence going into the new year. So I think it will be good to not go into January with a really poor record of like 1 win in December, because at the moment that's sort of where we're heading. So I really hope we can get over this sticky patch at St James's Park and then somehow come up with a plan to stop Villa winning at home in a couple of weeks. So all in all, a very professional performance from Chelsea yesterday. Great to see Cole Palmer back on the score sheet. Some good performances in Gusto and Fofana. I thought Reece James and Enzo were good in the midfield. or Pedro Neto had a good game as well. Garnacho, even though he didn't score, you know, we were criticising people for not getting those chances, like strikers particularly. At least Garnacho was getting himself in the position to miss yesterday. And I know on another day he might have had a hat-trick. So, yeah, it was a pretty good performance from Chelsea overall and a very, very solid 3 points.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Everyone wants the Emirates NBA Cup.
And things are heating up.
30 teams started. Bang! But only 8 have advanced to the single elimination knockout rounds. To survive, they'll have to be hungry, relentless, ruthless.
Are you kidding me?
They all want the cup, but only one team can claim it. Who will capture the cup? Emirates NBA Cup semifinals, Saturday on Prime.
Okay, only 10 more presents to wrap. You're almost at the finish line. But first... there, the last one. Enjoy a Coca-Cola for a pause that refreshes.
I sort of blame myself for this Enzo Maresca stuff, to be honest, because he obviously listens to the 1905 podcast and was upset when I started talking about people like Cesc Fabregas and Frank Lampard being future Chelsea managers on the last pod. But no, it was strange, wasn't it? Joking aside, it was strange timing more than anything, because it was, you know, not a nothing game, but it was a relatively comfortable Premier League win, and you kind of think this is an interesting time to put what he would have known would have been a headline-making kind of press conference out there. But yeah, I'm sure he'll have his reasons. I wonder, my guess is it's something to do with the sporting directors and the hierarchy at the club. Maybe not giving him the support that he wanted. Maybe it's a little hint not far from the January window that he would like support in a signing in January. Who knows? But yeah, there was certainly a message there, wasn't there, somewhere? In terms of the Premier League, then it was I thought we'd have a little look at kind of what the table is shaping up as. I mean, it's still insane, basically, the league table. I think wrongly, I was sort of, now we've won, maybe the league table sort of shaken out a little bit, but it really hasn't. I mean, Newcastle's a good team to talk about. Obviously, they lost this weekend to Sunderland, and we play them next in the league, and we're 4th and they're 12th. So you look at that and you get, oh, comfortable. And if they beat us on Saturday, they'll be 3 points behind us. So it really kind of sums up just how tight the league table is. It's a 6-point difference. So yeah, it's still ridiculously tight across the league, anywhere from 4th and down to, I mean, we're on 28 points in 4th, and Bournemouth, 15th, are 8 points behind us. So yeah, it's just insane. I think Villa are the ones, aren't they, that you look at where they got a very good win again yesterday. Obviously 2-1 down at West Ham. I thought, oh, okay, this would be good. This would be good for us. They came through with a very good win, and they're kind of where we wanted to be right now, which is that top 3 is starting to break away from the pack a little bit. Arsenal on 36 points, Man City 34. Oh, Arsenal were lucky, weren't they, this weekend, by the way? And then Villa on 33. So Villa are 5 points ahead of us in 3rd. And yeah, pretty much that's where I think Chelsea, certainly we've talked about this pod of wanting to be just breaking away from this kind of huddle of a crazy number of teams fighting for those European spots. But the Christmas period is always massive, isn't it, in terms of number of fixtures and kind of where the league table sort of shakes out by the end of it. And Chelsea, we just got to hope we're on the right side of it, because it's not an easy set of games. One stat that was doing the rounds after the game on Saturday was, I think it surprised quite a few of us, which is Chelsea are equal with Arsenal with a league best of 8 clean sheets in 16 games, which is pretty amazing, actually. A clean sheet every other game. It hasn't felt like that, has it? Watching us, it hasn't felt like, well, we're a team who's dominant and is going to keep clean sheets. Not a lot of them have been all that comfortable, but you have to say credit where it's due. I think the stat, we've talked about Fofana and Chalobah quite a bit. I think the stat is that they've got 5 clean sheets in their last 6 games together, which is absolutely fantastic and just talks to this idea of a great partnership. And we've said it before, Arsenal with Gabriel and Chalobah, you know, when you've got a partnership that works, just don't change it. Just let them settle in. And certainly in Premier League games, that's what I want to see. Obviously, that we'll change it up in midweek against Cardiff. That's inevitable. But in the Premier League, when we can, just make sure those two are playing games together, because they really have been fantastic. And then one other thing I wanted to just pick up on the stats side of things was Pedro Neto. Joe mentioned earlier about him being our top scorer in the league, which is with 5 goals. But I think it's gone under the radar, because I think Pedro Neto is pretty well seen by most Chelsea fans that he's having a good season. But he's having a real breakout season for him in terms of contribution. He's got 8 goals already now this season in all competitions, which is a career best for him. His best previously was 6 goals, which was last season. So 8 goals before Christmas is brilliant. I mean, if he carries on this run, he's not going to be far off 20 goals season, which would be absolutely fantastic. And that was his 3rd assist at the weekend as well. So 11 goal contributions in 28 games is pretty good. And yeah, I'm starting to see him really become just a key player. Even when he's not at the top of his game, and always, like, I wouldn't say that against Everton he was electric throughout, but you just know when he gets the ball, there's always a moment, and I think he showed that with a really good assist for Gusto's goal. A couple other things I wanted to pick out in other news was the Champions League. Obviously, I talked about the fact that we'd probably messed ourselves up after the result in midweek. The way that the results then happened the day after on Wednesday, and I can tell you now, I've looked at it all, I've done the maths. We are not getting top 8 in the Champions League. It looks very, very likely you'll need at least 17 points to get top 8, which obviously means automatic qualification. We're on 10, so we can get a best of 16, which just won't be enough. What I think is the most likely thing to play out now, something we hope will be, is that Chelsea beat Paphos at home after Christmas. And that would basically mean that the game at Napoli away is a dead rubber. And it'll probably be a dead rubber for both teams. And Napoli also kind of guaranteed qualification for what would be, do they call it the qualification round, I guess? So yes, that is the most likely scenario at this point. You look at the 2 away games have killed us, haven't they? I think Carabag not winning that and then not getting anything at Atalanta. If you change that up and even only get a point in Atalanta, but winning in Carabag, then Chelsea are probably in a really good spot right now. But unfortunately, we haven't done that. And yeah, it will be a tough. Well, who knows who you get? I guess in the next round. I think the higher you get in the table now, the better chance you've got. But it's a real roulette of teams that you could get, including, and we're doing the rounds on our WhatsApp group, including other Premier League teams, and we can play. So based on the fact that, again, I think outside of Man City, the rest of the Prem teams in the Champions League will probably be also in that draw. There's a fairly high chance of you having to play the likes of Spurs, Newcastle, or Liverpool, which would be, I won't lie, the last thing I'd want, but who knows. Let's look ahead then to Cardiff on Tuesday night. Cardiff are on fire. They are top of League One by 4 points. They've won 6 in their last 7, including a 4-3 win at home to the mighty Doncaster on Saturday. I think the 99th minute winner it was. So, yeah, they will be full of confidence, absolutely flying. It's a massive game for them, quarterfinal of the League Cup. We've seen in competitions like this before, lower league teams sometimes rest players and focus on the league. They might do that, but my gut feeling is it's the quarterfinal. They're going to go full strength. And obviously Chelsea should have enough on the night, but who knows? Interesting player that certainly it kind of escaped my attention until I looked into it. But one man on their books who scored the opening goal on Saturday for them is Kellyman, the forgotten man who we bought from Aston Villa for, I think it was a chunky £18 million a couple of summers ago. He was sort of part of that swap deal, but not swap deal, as they called it with Maatsen, when money was moving around in some quite funny ways. Has yet to play a first-team game for Chelsea, of course. And all by all accounts has done really well at Cardiff, and they like him a lot. He will not play against us, though, because Cardiff appealed for him to play. I think the way it works in the League Cup is they can play if the parent club agrees to it, but Chelsea said no. A bit harsh on Kellyman, but I also kind of like it. I kind of like that we're taking it seriously enough to go, let's not give them any advantage. So yeah, it'd be a big night. I think what you know is we had it in the League Cup earlier in the season, didn't we? That these games are not easy. If Cardiff are smart, they're going to put as many balls into that box and try and get amongst us early. That it will be feverish, I think, the atmosphere. So Chelsea need to come out fast and just be on it from the first minute, because yeah, these games can go the other way pretty quickly if you're not like that. I would imagine a lot of changes. We've got so many games coming up, including that big game at Newcastle at the weekend, that you would have thought he's gonna do what he does and change things up as much as possible. So I'll give you my team. I guess it's a mixture of what I think will happen, maybe also that I want to happen. I would have Rob Sanchez in goal. And I know it won't be. I know it'll be Jorgensen, but goalkeeper's different to other positions in that you don't necessarily need a rest. But I think it'll be Jorgensen, which does frighten the life out of me, if I'm being honest, but I think it'll be him. Back four, I'm going with Gusto at right back, Josh Achimpong centre back with Badiashile alongside him, and Hato at left back. Out of those four, let's face it, I think Hato has to play. I think he's just not getting enough minutes, and Cucurella certainly needs a break. Again, I think it'll be Tosin, won't it? I'm just sort of trying to avoid putting Tosin in the team, but I think more likely it'll be Achimpong right back with Tosin and Badiashile. But if I could avoid it, I would. Centre midfield, again, this is where the injuries kind of hurt us really, because you really would want to see a Sugo and or Lavia come in here, but neither of them are fit. So I think Andre Santos is a banker to start. And I kind of think he might bring in Caicedo alongside him. I think they'll be desperate to give certainly Reece James and Enzo a break. So that they're Caicedo, having not played much, you think he'll probably play him here. And then the attack's quite tricky, I think, because there's going to be a rotation. It's just kind of what shape these guys come in at. I think Esteval coming in on the right is probably a banker. I think Gittins on the left probably likewise. So I think that's your wingers. But picking the number 10 and the number 9 at the moment is really tricky. I think number 9, I would imagine it's either Mark Gui or Tyreek George. I think based on the fact that we saw Mark Gui against Bournemouth, I think he's probably more likely. So I think him at number 9 up top. And maybe the man who hasn't played in a long time now, but Buonanotte comes in at number 10. Again, would they be tempted to give Palmer another, start just to give him minutes? Probably, but maybe he's on the bench if you need him, and they start with Buonanotte, I would imagine. So that was I think the team will be somewhere around that. Lots of changes. I think it will be a 9 or 10 changes from the last lineup at least. And yeah, let's face it, it's the quarterfinal of the League Cup. I mean, it's a competition I always say you're a little bit meh on, aren't you, until you get to the semi-final, and then it's like, right, all in. We're one step away from Wembley. So get through this. It will mean a lot of fixtures in the new year, but you know what? That's what you want to be as a big team. That's what you want to be. And we, as I've said so many times, we are so overdue a Wembley Cup final win that it would be fantastic to do it in any competition, and I'd take the League Cup, absolutely. So yeah, we'll be back on Wednesday to respond to that game in Wales and look ahead to the big game against Newcastle at the weekend. Every little thing's going to be all right. We'll see you next time. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be all right.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.